The twin suns were setting slowly over the wide desert plain of the colony world, called Red Mesa. Long shadows stretched across the dusty ground, and the wind carried a soft, dry whisper. The sky glowed in layers of orange, gold, and pale violet. A single figure moved along the narrow trail, his boots making a soft crunch with every step. He was known simply as Cowboy. That was not his real name, but people on the frontier rarely use their real names anymore. Out here, far from Earth, names were chosen like hats. They fit the person's story better than the name they were born with. Cowboy wore a long brown coat, faded from too much sun, and a wide hat that kept the bright sky from his eyes. His boots were old, but his steps were steady. He carried no weapon, only a small satchel and a canteen of water. Cowboy had been walking for 2 days. His plan was simple: find a place to rest for the night and continue his search in the morning. Rumor said there was a secret oasis somewhere in the canyon lands of Red Mesa, a place where clear water flowed beneath the sand and an ancient system of machines waited to be awakened again. But before that adventure, he needed shelter. As he crested the next hill, he saw it. A small settlement rested in a shallow valley. It was made of domed houses built with care, using both old earth designs and modern colony materials. In the center stood a single tall wigwam, glowing softly with warm light. The wigwam was made of woven fiber and thin metallic threads that caught the last rays of the setting suns. A few lanterns flickered near the path like stars guiding travelers home. Cowboy stopped for a moment and adjusted his hat. He was tired, but something about the place felt different. It was quiet, not silent like an empty desert, but quiet in a way that made the heart slow down and listen. He could hear a wind chime made of shell and steel. He could smell something warm, like roasted corn and herbs. Slowly he walked down the hill and entered the settlement. 2 figures were waiting for him at the edge of the path. They were both young women, dressed in a mix of traditional Apache-style woven fabric and modern desert gear. One wore a red sash, the other a blue one. Their dark hair was braided neatly, and both had calm, sharp eyes that watched him carefully. The one in red spoke first. "Traveler," she said softly. "You've come a long way." Cowboy tipped his hat politely. "Yes, ma'am," he said. His voice was low and even. "I've been walking since morning. I'm just looking for a place to rest." The one in blue tilted her head, studying him. "Not many walk this far alone," she said. "Most turn back before they reach Red Mesa." Cowboy gave a small smile. "I guess I'm not most people." The 2 women exchanged a quick glance, the kind people share when they understand something without words. Then the woman in red nodded. "You may stay," she said. "The wigwam in the center is for travelers. It has a fire, clean mats, and water. You are welcome to rest there." Cowboy let out a breath he didn't know he had been holding. "Thank you kindly," he said. They walked with him toward the center of the settlement. The air grew warmer as they neared the wigwam. A soft light spilled out of its opening, and the faint sound of a flute drifted on the wind. Cowboy felt a strange peace settle over him. It had been a long time since he'd felt safe anywhere. As they arrived, the woman in blue spoke again. "My name is Tala," she said, "and this is my sister Ayana." "A pleasure," Cowboy said, nodding to each of them. Tala gave a polite smile, but her eyes were still sharp. "Rest well, Cowboy," she said. "But be ready. Night brings stories of its own here." He didn't fully understand what she meant, but he nodded anyway. "I can handle a few stories," he said lightly. Ayana's smile was gentler. "We'll bring you warm tea. No traveler should sleep hungry." With that, they left him at the entrance of the wigwam. Cowboy ducked inside. The interior was simple but beautiful. A circle of woven mats lined the floor, and a low fire flickered at the center, its light dancing against the walls. There was a water jug, a basket of dried fruit, and a folded blanket at one side. Above, the ceiling of the wigwam shimmered faintly with threads that caught the starlight outside. It was warm, safe, almost too perfect. Cowboy sat down with a soft sigh. His muscles ached from the long walk. He stretched out his legs, took a slow drink of water, and leaned back against the wall. For a few quiet minutes, everything felt calm. Then, something shifted. A sound, very soft, almost like a hum, passed through the floor. It was so faint that at first Cowboy thought it was just the wind. But the hum grew slightly stronger. It wasn't like the wind at all. It felt more like a vibration. A heartbeat in the ground. Cowboy frowned and leaned forward, listening carefully. Outside, the desert had grown quiet. Even the wind chimes had gone still. Then, just as quickly as it came, the vibration faded away. He shook his head slowly. Probably just his tired mind playing tricks, he thought. Frontierland did that to people sometimes. A few minutes later, Tala and Ayana entered with a small tray. They sat down cross-legged beside the fire. The tray held a teapot and small clay cups. The tea gave off a soft steam that smelled like sage and mint. "Drink," Ayana said gently, passing him a cup. "This will warm you." Cowboy nodded his thanks and took a sip. The warmth spread through him like a gentle wave. It had been many nights since he had shared a fire with anyone. Tala watched him closely. "You came from the Western Ridge?" she asked. "Yes," Cowboy said. "Followed the trail all the way through Dust Creek." Tala raised her eyebrows. "That's brave." "Dust Creek is lonely." Cowboy gave a quiet laugh. "So am I." There was a brief silence, not awkward but thoughtful. Ayana stirred the fire with a thin stick, sending sparks up into the air. Finally, Ayana spoke. "You must have heard the stories." "Stories?" Cowboy asked. She looked at Tala, then back at him. "The lights in the dunes," she said softly. "Some say they are spirits. Others say they are old machines. We see them sometimes at night. Bright blue lights. Moving in ways that are not human." Cowboy tilted his head. "I saw something like that last night. Thought it was just dust storms." Tala's eyes narrowed slightly. "It wasn't dust," she said. "They've been getting closer these past few weeks." Cowboy placed his cup down slowly. "And you think I brought them?" "No," Tala said firmly. "But we think your coming isn't an accident." That made Cowboy sit up a little straighter. "I'm just passing through," he said carefully. "Looking for water." "The oasis," Ayana said quietly. "You search for it." Cowboy didn't answer, but his silence was enough. Everyone on this side of Red Mesa had heard the legends, of hidden underground rivers, of machines older than any human alive, of the place where the Earth settlers first touched down. Some said it was real. Some said it was just a story to keep travelers dreaming. Tala leaned a little closer. "The wigwam you're sitting in," she said, "stands on the oldest ground in the settlement. It was built over something ancient, something that hums in the dark." Cowboy felt a shiver crawl down his back. He remembered the faint vibration he had heard earlier. "I think I already met your hum," he said. Ayana's eyes widened slightly. "You heard it?" he nodded. "Like a low sound under the floor." Didn't last long. Tala and Ayana exchanged a long look. It wasn't fear on their faces, more like a quiet understanding, a shared secret they had kept for a long time. Tala spoke softly. "Then it has begun." Cowboy frowned. "What has?" But before she could answer, something outside interrupted them. A low rumble rolled through the desert. It wasn't a storm. It was steadier, rhythmic, like the sound of a drum echoing from far away. The ground beneath them trembled. The lantern outside the wigwam flickered as the vibration grew stronger. Tala stood up quickly and moved to the entrance, pulling the flap open. Ayana followed, her braids swinging behind her. Cowboy rose and stepped outside too. The night sky was no longer quiet. Along the far horizon, a line of blue-white lights shimmered and pulsed, moving slowly but surely toward the settlement. They looked almost like stars had decided to walk across the land, Ayana whispered. "They're here." Tala clenched her hands, steady but tense. "We've been waiting," she said softly. Then she turned to Cowboy. "And so, it seems, have they." Cowboy looked at the approaching lights, then at the two sisters. His tiredness was gone now, replaced by a steady alertness. He had come here looking for rest, but clearly rest had other plans. Ayana's eyes met his. There was something bright in them, hope or maybe courage. "This night will not be quiet," she said. And in that moment, under the star-filled sky, Cowboy understood that whatever was coming was bigger than his search for an oasis. The desert was waking up. The blue-white lights grew closer with every passing minute. The desert was quiet except for the steady hum in the air. It was the same low sound Cowboy had felt beneath the wigwam, but now it was louder and clearer. It seemed to come from everywhere at once, through the sand, the rocks, and the wind. Tala and Ayana stood side by side at the edge of the settlement. Their faces were calm, but their hands were steady and ready. They had lived here their entire lives. They had seen these lights before, far away in the dunes, but never had they come this close. Cowboy stepped up behind them, his boots sinking slightly into the sand. He adjusted his hat and looked out at the horizon. The lights were moving in a slow, perfect line. They didn't flicker like torches or lanterns. They glided like quiet stars sliding across the land. "What are they?" Cowboy asked softly. Tala didn't take her eyes off the lights. "Old machines," she said. "Older than any of us. Older than this colony." Ayana nodded slowly. "They used to belong to the first explorers. When the Earth settlers came to Red Mesa, they sent drones to search the land. Most were lost in the storms. Some never came back." Cowboy narrowed his eyes. "And now they've returned." Tala glanced at him. "Yes, and they always come to this place. To the wigwam. To the ground beneath it." The humming grew stronger. Ayana placed her hand on the ground, and Cowboy saw her fingers tremble slightly. Not from fear, but from the vibration itself. "It's calling them," she whispered. Cowboy turned toward the wigwam. Its woven walls shimmered faintly under the stars, and the firelight from inside flickered like a heartbeat. He remembered how warm and peaceful it had felt an hour ago. Now, it felt like the center of something much bigger than a simple shelter. The first of the blue lights reached the edge of the valley. Cowboy could see their shapes now, round floating machines about the size of a barrel. They had smooth metal shells and soft glowing bands of light circling their middles. Their movements were quiet, almost careful. They did not seem like weapons. They seemed like something listening. The settlement remained silent. No one else was outside. Tala and Ayana stood their ground. Cowboy stood with them. "What do they want?" Cowboy asked. Tala's voice was calm but firm. "They are looking for something," Ayana added softly. "Or someone." Cowboy felt the wind brush against his face. He didn't know why, but a strange calm settled in his chest. He had been many places and seen many strange things, but this night felt different. It felt like the desert itself was waiting. Tala stepped forward and raised a small lantern. She lifted it high into the air, and the soft yellow light cut through the dark. The blue lights reacted instantly. They slowed their movement and formed a gentle arc around the edge of the settlement. "They understand light," Tala said. "It's how we've spoken to them before." Cowboy raised an eyebrow. "Spoken to them?" Ayana looked at him and gave a small nod. "We use the signal fires," she said. "Our ancestors used fire dances. We use lights now. Same heart, different tools." She moved toward the center of the settlement. Cowboy followed, curious. There was a tall metal pole near the wigwam with a round dish at the top, a simple signal beacon built many years ago. Tala climbed a short ladder and adjusted the dials at the base. The beacon began to glow a warm golden color. Then it blinked twice, paused, and blinked again. Ayana lit 2 small lanterns and placed them on the sand in a careful pattern. "Like a song," Tala explained. "Every blink is a word." The machines floated a little closer. Their blue rings pulsed slowly, matching the rhythm of the lanterns. Cowboy watched closely. The air was heavy with silence, but it was not the silence of danger, it was the silence of listening. "Why now?" Cowboy asked. "Why are they coming tonight?" Ayana's voice was quiet. "Because something is waking." Tala looked over her shoulder. "Under the wigwam," she said. "There is an entrance. We've never opened it. But the hum, it has grown stronger every year." Cowboy's eyes narrowed. "An entrance?" She nodded. "To the old Earth system. To what the first explorers left behind." Cowboy had heard stories of lost technology buried under the sands of Red Mesa, but he never believed them. Yet here he was, standing above something that hummed like a living thing, watching machines older than the colony itself answer a signal fire. Tala's lantern blinked again. This time, the drones responded. One of them moved forward slowly, almost like it was bowing. A low, soft tone filled the air, almost musical. It was not a warning. It was an answer, Ayana whispered. "They want us to follow." Cowboy looked at the 2 sisters. "You've done this before?" Tala shook her head. "No, we only ever watched from far away. Tonight is different." The 3 of them walked toward the wigwam. The humming was so strong now that Cowboy could feel it in his chest. The fire inside the wigwam flickered as if breathing. Tala and Ayana knelt near the floor and brushed aside a woven mat. Beneath it was a round hatch made of smooth metal, half buried in sand. It had no handle, only a faint blue symbol glowing in the center. Cowboy crouched beside them. "That's old Earth tech," he said. "I've seen panels like this out in the wild." Tala looked at him with a question in her eyes. "Can you open it?" Cowboy nodded slowly. "I can try." He pulled a small tool from his satchel, a flat, thin piece of steel with old circuit marks. He had picked it up years ago during his travels. Carefully, he placed it against the glowing symbol. For a second, nothing happened. Then the hatch made a soft click. The symbol turned from blue to green. The hatch slid open with a slow, smooth sound, releasing a cool breath of air from below. A soft green light glowed inside, leading down into darkness. Tala and Ayana looked at each other. This was the secret beneath their home. This was what the machines had been circling for years. Cowboy took a deep breath and nodded. "I'll go first." "No," Tala said quickly. "We go together." The three of them climbed down the narrow ladder. The air inside was cool and dry. The tunnel walls were made of smooth metal, not sand or stone. It felt strange, like stepping into a memory. Their footsteps echoed softly. After a short walk, the tunnel opened into a wide chamber. Lights on the walls flickered to life as they entered. At the center of the room stood a large round machine, half covered in sand, with glowing panels and old markings written in Earth language. The machine gave off the same low hum they had felt above. Ayana whispered, "It's alive." Cowboy walked slowly around the machine. "This is an old water system," he said. "A reclamation core. It can draw water from deep underground. If this works, it could bring water back to the desert." Tala's eyes widened. This is what the stories spoke of. The humming grew louder. The drones above began to lower themselves through the open hatch, floating down like gentle blue stars. One by one, they took their places around the machine. Their lights blinked in rhythm as if speaking to it. The panels on the machine brightened. Cowboy touched the control panel gently. A small screen flickered to life, showing words in a language half lost to time, but Cowboy understood enough. "It wants a signal," he said. "It wants a human to activate it." Ayana stepped forward. "Then give it what it wants." Cowboy looked at Tala. She nodded firmly. He placed his hand on the green panel. For a moment, everything was still. Then the entire chamber filled with a deep, soft sound, a pulse like a heartbeat. The machine awakened fully. The lights glowed bright. A faint rumble echoed beneath their feet. Outside, the desert began to change. Streams of cold, clear water started flowing through old pipes buried in the sand. Fountains long forgotten burst to life near the edge of the settlement. The wigwam glowed brighter as the hum became a steady, peaceful rhythm. The air smelled of wet earth for the first time in many years. Tala laughed softly, a sound filled with joy. Ayana touched the wall with shining eyes. "The land will live again," she whispered. Cowboy stepped back, watching the machine work. "This is what they wanted," he said. "Not to hurt anyone. To be found." The drones hovered around them silently, their blue lights now soft and steady. They had completed their task. Tala looked at Cowboy. "You came here by chance. But maybe not by accident," he smiled a little. "I don't believe in accidents." The three of them climbed back up into the night. The desert air was fresh, cooler now. The settlement lights reflected off small streams forming through the sand. The stars above seemed brighter. Cowboy adjusted his hat and looked toward the horizon. His journey had brought him here for rest, but instead, he had helped awaken something ancient and good. Ayana stepped beside him. "So, Cowboy," she said softly, "will you stay?" He smiled. "No, there are still places to walk, but I'll remember this night." Tala raised the lantern and let its warm light fall across the wigwam. "Then go with strength," she said. The drones floated quietly in the sky, watching like old guardians. The hum was no longer a warning. It was a song. As Cowboy walked toward the dark edge of the desert, the water flowed behind him, giving new life to the land. Tala and Ayana stood at the gate, their lanterns shining bright. They had other plans that night, plans to bring hope, not fear, and the desert, once silent, now sang.